Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ingalls SoCon Tipoff Show. I'm Chris Bainbridge, alongside the voice of the SoCon, Pete Yannity, and for the next 30 minutes, we're taking you on a tour of the Southern Conference as we get you ready for a fantastic conference lineup of SoCon basketball.
Yeah, and here in the Harris-Cherokee Center, it's the home of the Ingalls Fan Zone, the site of the 2025 Ingalls SoCon Basketball Championships. Last year, the Sanford Bulldog men taking home the title. The Chattanooga Mocs women winning it all on that side. College basketball season, Chris, is underway, and the Southern Conference has great excitement in men's and women's hoops, and conference play will tip off in just the next few weeks.
First up, we're taking a trip down to Greenville and the home of the 2023 SoCon men's champions, Furman University. Both Paladins teams find themselves in a huge rebuild this season, quite literally. That's because Timmons Arena, the home court for men's and women's basketball since the late 90s, is getting a whole new life, which makes for a very different season for these two teams.
We've been in a building process where we've looked at things over time, myself, Coach Ritchie, Coach Pierre, just in terms of what we need to do to be the elite program in the Southern Conference. Having a new arena is a part of that, and what it does for us is it hopefully positions us at the top of the conference. We're very excited about where we are with the Timmons Arena project. We were informed recently we're over 50% completion on the construction that we've been working on that opened up about a year ago. We're in a great position with this building in terms of where we are on schedule, on budget, on time, and excited to open up for next season in the fall of 2025. For this season, our men's basketball program is playing at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena. Our women are playing nearby in North Greenville University. It's a great location, and they'll play a couple of their games down at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena in SoCon play.
We're in the middle of one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and so for us to get some exposure downtown helps hopefully continue to build our brand, but also, puts you in an NCAA tournament type venue, puts you in a bigger venue. It's one of those where if you win the SoCon tournament, you're going to go play in something like the Well, and so to get reps in a building like that, can never hurt you.
I think the biggest challenge is more like practice and just like your normal day-to-day extra shots or shoot-arounds and things like that. But I think they've done a good job. We're playing at North Greenville, so they've done a good job of just making sure the gym is available on game days.
We spent a lot of time this summer really looking at the whole 13-month master calendar of how to function and how to make it as seamless as possible. And at the end of the day, as long as you have a good plan and you got good people execute the plan, you just work through it.
It's basically like we're on the road, so what we try to do is just bring our own energy, and for me it's to make any gym we go into like our gym, like a home gym. So it took a little bit getting used to knowing the seniors are going to be playing their final year here. They're all in on Furman, so they're just taking it all in stride and trying to have the best season we can have.
We've said all along, we're going to look at this as opportunity, not an obstacle. So you're going to get some bumps in the road, different hiccups, and we met on a few this morning and different things like that. But we want to look at this as an opportunity.
Timmons Arena is going to be just a great change for our campus. I think the first thing is going to be the curb appeal. When you look at the outside of the building, it's just a transformative change in terms of what it was and what it will be.
I think the student section is going to be huge. We've already kind of reaped some of the benefits of just knowing we're having a new gym, and it's helping with recruiting already.
And it's going to be a statement, and it's going to be a statement of excellence, and it's going to be a statement that this matters. And when you walk in, you're going to see excellence. And I think the biggest thing when you walk in there right now, it just looks way bigger.
It's just a very unique building. It's got a lot of character, it's got a lot of flair, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be certainly an environment that gives us a home court advantage.
So Pete, when the preseason polls came out, both the Furman men and women were kind of in that upper middle tier of the pack there. So obviously their stadium situation presents a certain unique set of challenges, but so does the rest of the SoCon. So let's start with the Furman women. What can we expect from Coach Pierre Curtis's team?
Well, I think that from that team, you've got a real glue player back who seems like she's been there forever, and Tate Walters, point guard. Kate Johnson back in the post. Back in November, she had an 18-point game and a loss at Georgia. And Sydney Ryan returns. She's kind of a key piece.
Okay, and how about over to the Furman men? What do you see from these guys kind of taking that next step for Coach Bob Ritchie's team?
Well, it's funny. He's kind of almost turned his roster over entirely from just a couple of Marches ago when they won the NCAA tournament game against Virginia. Garrett Heen is one of those familiar faces who's been around. He played a huge role, obviously, in the NCAA tourney win at Virginia when he made the pass to JP Pegues for the winning shot. He's been back. He really picked up his rebounding over the early stages of the season. And when Bob Ritchie is doing the X's and O's, you feel pretty good about things. What a great coach he is.
The Wofford women are led by SoCon Preseason Player of the Year Rachel Rose, who won Player of the Year honors the past 2 seasons. She finished 7th in the nation in scoring, set single-season program records for points, free throw percentage, and assists, shot 50.4% overall and 40.3% from 3, and recorded 8 double-doubles and the program's first ever triple-double. She's good. Let's learn a little more about her.
I don't really remember not playing basketball just because I have older siblings who I've always grown up watching, but probably shooting in my backyard with my dad ever since I can remember. I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Basketball has always been a huge part of my life. I have 4 siblings and I'm number 4 of 5, so just watching my older brother and older sister play basketball and just following in their footsteps is something I've done since I can remember.
The way she plays and the competitive nature that she has in her, she just finds ways to win. Whether it's individual drill, team drill, she is a special player. Offensively, she can do so many things. She can score at every level. Defensively, she's tough, she's good on the ball defense, and she's very coachable and likable. At the end of the day, she really wants to win. And her competitive drive is unlike anybody else that I've ever coached. She exhibits that every single day in practice, no matter what the drill is. She's a great leader. She's one that our team will follow, which is really important. We got some young ones on our team this year, and she just stepped up her leadership ability, and they're following along with her. They want to be good, and they want to win.
I was originally committed to USC Upstate and played my freshman year there. And when I got in the portal, Wofford was my first call. And I didn't really know much about it, but as soon as I visited, I fell in love with the coaching staff and the team and just the overall goals of what this program had, and I wanted to play a role in making history.
At the end of the day, she just wins. You know, she came in as a sophomore, Player of the Year in our league, junior, Player of the Year in our league. This year, she's preseason Player of the Year, but those things aren't the things that are most important to her. She wants to win. She wants to go to the NCAA tournament. The tournament in Asheville, when you have somebody that has that mentality and has the skill set that she has, you're pretty good. And she's a really good player in our league and a really good player in the country. And she's at a school like Wofford because she wants to be here. She loves our culture, and she makes everything about the college better, not just about our women's basketball program, but about the school.
I just want to let the game come to me, but my overall goal is to win and set my teammates up for success. I'm going to work hard always. I'm considered small in basketball with my height, but just I'm going to play bigger than I actually am and just, keep working hard and fight till the end.
So Pete, last season, Rachel Rose led the Terriers to the semis in the SoCon tournament, and this season they're picked to basically be the #1 team throughout the course of the season. So what do we see for the Wofford women this season?
Rachel Rose, such a great building block. She really does it all. She scores, she distributes, she plays defense. It's a team that does not necessarily have the inside force that when you get to tournament time can be an issue, but I would think with the way Jimmy Garrity coaches this ball club, they are a team that'll probably be playing deep into the weekend at the tournament right here in Asheville.
Yeah, and speaking of that, it seemed like Wofford maybe took kind of a half a step back for a couple of seasons, but Coach Dwight Perry has them right back to kind of what we've come to expect from the Wofford Terriers. So what do you expect from his men this season?
Well, and I think it's interesting how many guys they return, and Corey Tripp is a player who's emerged over the last couple of years as a scorer. They had a real big addition when they went and were able to get a pretty good player from the upstate of South Carolina who had a massive high school career.
Well, let's take a little trip over to Tennessee. The Chattanooga women won it all last year. The Chattanooga men made it to the quarterfinals where they fell to ETSU, who then ultimately lost to Samford in the final game. So a lot of good basketball getting played in the Volunteer State. So let's start with Chattanooga. and last season's women's champs. What do you see from the Mocs?
Losing Sean Poppy, the head coach, for one thing, and the energy he brought and the great success he brought to their program in just 2 years, that's obviously big. They do have a transfer in from Valdosta State, DeAndra Shermer. She's come in, giving them some good scoring. And they also return another player that's been very good for them, Carson Murphy, and Sigrid Olafsdotter, another one of those players who seems like she's been in the league for years. She's become an important piece, and she'll be very important for them as they continue on.
So the Mocs men were ranked second in the preseason poll. How about Coach Dan Earl's team?
Dan Earl's team started 0-3 for the first time in a decade and a half, but they played 3 true road games out at Southern Cal, another game in California against a good St. Mary's squad, but they'll be just fine. They return one of the best mid-major backcourts, in my opinion, in Honor Huff and also Trey Bonham, and they've lost some key pieces, but Dan Earl teams eventually get better as the year goes on, and I think they will be a team on the men's side that you'll be hearing plenty from.
I think so. Now over to Chattanooga's in-state rival ETSU. The Bucks men had a magical run in the tournament. Now they went in as the 7th seed and they made it all the way to the championship game. So does the magic continue?
Does it continue for the ETSU Bucks? Brooks Savage, another one of those energy kind of coaches, and what a job he did. Interestingly, for a while there, ETSU, as good as they were, they would have a lot of guys moving in and moving out, but they return a core of guys that were part of that successful run. Jamari Peterson in the backcourt, really good player. Jaden Seymour, 6'7", tough to defend. Maybe this is the year that he's the player that you're looking at and saying, wow, he just jumped up his stats, doubled his numbers in all categories.
All right, so how about over on the women's side of things? What do we see for Coach Brenda Mock-Brown's team?
Yeah, Chris, it's interesting. She won 25 games a couple of seasons ago in a first year in which she didn't get there till August. Really set a high bar. Last year they went 18-12. Good record, 18 wins, you don't complain about that. Almost seemed like they took a step back, but they do return really good backcourt players like Kendall Foley and Courtney Moore, and those will be key pieces moving forward for them.
All right, so just on the other side of the mountains from those Tennessee schools, we find the campus of Western Carolina University. The Catamounts have seen improvement across the board under the guidance of athletics director Alex Gary. This offseason, he had his work cut out for him in the basketball department with the departure of both head coaches. So, who's new in Cullowhee? Let's find out.
On our men's side, our coach chose to do something good for him and his family and pursue another position as well. Because of the lack of progress with our women's team, we did have to make a decision to go in a different direction. We had to do both those searches within a 2-week period. So we kind of rolled up our sleeves a little bit and got it done. For our men's basketball program, we hired Tim Kraft. One of the things that I really liked about Tim Kraft was his commitment to his university. In addition to that, Tim Kraft had ushered his men's basketball program at his previous institution to the NCAA tournament, which was a big deal. On the women's basketball side, we hired Coach Jonathan Sippis. Coach Sippis has a tremendous resume in coaching women's basketball. He coached at Notre Dame. He was able to go to George Washington University and be a head coach for the very first time. What was really attractive and drew me to Jonathan Sippis is his ability to show that he can turn a program around and do it very quickly.
The biggest draw was Alex Gary and the administration and their vision for Western Carolina athletics. I just felt like he had a great vision and great direction for those areas, and that was exciting to me.
The Western Carolina job was appealing because we have a lot of family here. But I think what stood out from the basketball side is they had had success with Kelly Harper in the Southern Conference and had not been able to duplicate that. And so I knew the opportunity and that some of the tradition was there. The second big point was to have a very women's basketball-centric athletic director. Knowing Alex Gary's background as a student athlete, and I think the pride he has for this school.
I've been really proud about the competitive success at Western Carolina University over the last few years. The 2 coaches that we've been able to bring in have shown that they're winners too. We know that they're going to be successful. It's just how do we pair them with resources that can help them get to a championship level of success.
We're trying to do things that haven't been accomplished here at Western in the past. I think a big portion of that is learning how to win. But I think anybody who's watched us so far, we have a toughness and a resiliency about us that even when we do get down, different people are going to try to step up and do the things they're capable of doing to give us an opportunity to be back and a chance to win.
I think we're going to play really hard. We're going to play really fast. You know, we want to be a team that executes and plays with discipline and plays together. So, you know, that's the type of team we are trying to develop. It's going to take some time. It's going to be a work in progress, but we've got guys with good character that want to get better, that are willing to be coached, and so I'm excited to see where this group, how we develop over time.
So Pete, the Cats made great strides under head coach Justin Gray. Now the question is, can Tim Kraft keep it going?
And then Tim Kraft arrives with all that talent from a team that made that run in the SoCon tourney under Gray. Having moved on, they do return Bernard Pelote. He was an important piece, and he'll probably have a bigger role this year. Newcomer Ice Emery from Merrimack is going to be a scorer for them. Vernon Collins from Princeton looks to have an expanded role with Western Carolina. It's kind of guys that Tim Kraft will build around, among others.
All right, so as we know, we've got 2 new coaches in Catamount Country. And so what do we see on the Western women's side of things?
Well, Jonathan Sipsis is the new head coach. Spells it with a T at the front, but you got to be careful how you pronounce it. He does have a newcomer coming in from Georgia Tech. Ace Carter has made an impact early on. And a player who was an all-SoCon freshman member, a guard forward, Taya Beans, and those are 2 really good building blocks.
All right, so on over to our 2 military institutions. What do you see for the Citadel and VMI?
Ed Conroy is such a good coach at the Citadel, and it gives you an idea as to how good he is. They not only won at Notre Dame last year, they dominated the Irish. And that was one of those December games, but still, you've got to be coaching well to do that. They have some new players coming in who should help them. Brody Fox came from Division III Wisconsin Stout. He's a guard forward, but he averaged 26 points a game in D3. I don't care what level you're at, that's a good scorer. And also, Sola Adebisi is a transfer from Florida State, 6'6". Maybe he finds a home in the Southern Conference. As for VMI, they actually got out of the gate 3-0, and one of those was a D1 road win at Bellarmine, so that was very good for Andrew Wilson's team. Once again, though, he is in a situation where his roster essentially turned over. A lot of guys moved on. They got a transfer from Indiana State, Augustinus Kidulis, who's come in and been a really effective player at 6'8", a forward. TJ Johnson transferred in from Lipscomb. He's 6'6" and has been a contributor. And then a newcomer is Walker Andrews, who averaged 22 points a game in high school. So give credit to Andrew Wilson in Lexington, Virginia. He's been able to quickly rebuild his roster.
All right, thanks, Pete. Well, similar to Western Carolina, Mercer finds itself with 2 new head coaches, each replacing tenured vets who had a lot of success for the Bears. We had an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the changes taking place down in Macon and how things are going for the men and women in orange.
It was an interesting year. Very seldom do you lose both your men and women basketball coaches. So I decided to make a change in the leadership of the men's program. Our winningest coach of all time, Susie Gardner, decided to step aside and pursue an opportunity at a bigger school as an assistant. One candidate stood out, Ryan Ritter, who was the current coach at UT Martin. He had been in some programs that had never won, and he had turned them around quick, moved on, and he had done that in 3 different areas. While we were coming to contract negotiations with his agent, we were simultaneously bringing people in on the women's side. Somebody that stood out to me was Coach Hurd. She had so much great success at Western Kentucky and was a head coach at Cincinnati and was currently at Mississippi State as an assistant. She's just so grateful. I mean, she comes in every day. She's a team person. And once again, at Mercer, you have to be a team person.
The success of our other sports kind of allowed me to see how special Mercer could be in terms of men's basketball. So, leadership and having the opportunity to compete in the Southern Conference. Third, it's a great place to raise a family. I've got 3 young daughters. I'm married. This is, Central Georgia. We're very familiar with it, being from Florida. So put those 3 things together, and it just was a really good fit for us.
Mercer's a great, amazing academic institution. Mercer women's basketball is a team that had went to NCAAs, won championships, and for me, I've been a part of a lot of championships, so this is a great university in the South, so just a place that I thought could be an amazing place for me to have an opportunity to get back in.
But, the winning culture, we try to win at everything. And listen, we started behind. I mean, there's some schools in this conference that have just unbelievable traditions. We didn't have one. Everything we did was starting our own culture. We went through some tough times. We lost, we won. And I think the main thing would be is we just We just never gave up.
I think for me, I'm one of those coaches that I really love defense and letting our defense translate over to our offense. But just up-tempo style, we're really working and learning. We have a lot of new pieces, trying to be able to put the defense on the floor, but also being able to bring more offense to the floor. So I think that's the biggest thing, just our playing hard, pride, working on building our culture.
You're going to see a team that loves playing for each other. We play an exciting brand. We play up-tempo. Obviously, like a lot of people in the country, we've got a lot of new guys, so it's going to take some time to figure out exactly when and how we gel and what avenues we want to go down, but I think you're going to see a team that really loves playing basketball. We play an up-tempo, exciting brand. We're going to guard you, but I think you see a team that can put some points on the board and hopefully compete for a championship down the stretch.
Well, Pete, certainly some new faces down in Macon this season. So what do you make of what you've been able to observe so far for the Bears, starting off with Ryan Ritter's men's team?
Yeah, 2 new head coaches on both the men's and women's side. Ryan Ritter came from UT Martin and again had to rebuild the roster, as will happen these days when you get a new coach in and guys move on. Angel Montas is a transfer from Fordham who was injured while up there, but he has come in and should be a guy they can rely on to score. Tyler Johnson was the Peach Belt Athletic Conference Player of the Year at USC Aiken, so he's hoping to bring his game to the D1 level. And they returned some players. Alex Holt transferred there last year from High Point, stuck around, and he's a guy that can maybe emerge as a player who can score inside, maybe even step out a little bit for them. But Ryan Ritter, he did a very solid job in the Ohio Valley Conference at UT Martin, and I think they got a really good coach and bring him in.
All right, well, it's always tough when you're trying to replace a legend like Coach Susie Gardner down at Mercer. So how about Coach Michelle Clark-Hurd and the Mercer women?
And it helps that Michelle Clark-Hurd, just like Susie Gardner had when she took the Mercer job, had head coaching experience in her past. She had some players also move out that could have come back and helped out, but they do return Ashley Locke, who's been a reliable player for them and has kind of emerged as a go-to scorer for them. They have 8 transfers coming into their program, so a lot of new faces on that ball club.
All right, well, Pete, just across the border in Birmingham, the Samford Bulldogs have been playing championship basketball. Buckyball was in full effect last year, and Coach Kuhn's women won the title just a few years before. So let's talk Samford. The men were the favorites to repeat as champs. Can they do it?
And Bucky McMillan has had to turn his roster over a little bit, and boy, oh boy, what talent they had. But a big loss, Achor. He moved on. What an emerging star. They've had to augment their roster with some new players, more than half a dozen transfers. They lead the league in Holloways. They brought in a guy named Colin Holloway, 6'6", and a player who can help them. They returned Josh Holloway. They also returned Rylan Jones, who was a good guard among their returnees. And Jaden Brownell's an intriguing player to me. He came from Incarnate Word in San Antonio, 6'9", 230 pounds. He should be an imposing force in the league.
Lead the league in Holloways. All right, how about over to the women with Coach Carly Coons? What do you see from her Samford Bulldogs?
Well, they have a new player, Claire Johnson, coming in to help them out at guard. They return Emily Bowman, a 6'5" center. Carly Coons is always going to have a team that stays in the game. They're always going to keep the score low. They play good defense. I'd expect that out of them this year.
All right, well, finally, we're going to head on up to Greensboro, and it seems like basketball in the G is always top-notch. The Spartan women have been tagged as the team to give Wofford the biggest run for the tournament title. So let's start there. What do you see from Coach Patterson's team?
Trina Patterson has a post player back, Khalees Kane, who's an imposing presence on the inside. And also, they've got some talented guards around her. You look every year, and they're holding teams usually in the 50s now. Can they score? They do return some of the veterans from the past few seasons. Perhaps this is the year that they can finally break through once again, comparing to some of those great teams they had about a decade ago.
All right, well, how about the Spartan men? What do you think about the squad that Coach Mike Jones brings to the court this season?
I don't know that you can have SoCon games or UNCG games without the Langleys in the backcourt. They were there forever, both Keyshawn and Kobe, and they brought so much to the table. Also, Mikkel Brown-Jones has moved on, but they return one of the better players in the league who's a tough matchup in Donovan Atwell, and he's a guy who can go inside but can also step out and score. Again, another one of those schools in this league that really emphasizes the D.
All right, thanks, Pete. Well, our final story of the show features a program that has raised thousands of dollars to fight hunger across SoCon country over the years. And it's a graphic and an announcement that's become very familiar in a conference that shoots as many threes as anyone. It's the Ingles 3-for-3 program.
The Ingles 3-for-3 program was born when we began working with individual colleges. It is an opportunity for students and athletic departments to be part of the charity process of growing into a community giver. What we do is a $3 donation for every three-point shot for both men's and women's basketball throughout the entire season. And if the team makes it to a playoff or to a championship, it continues on through that.
So the Southern Conference typically is one of the leading three-point shooting conferences in the country. Last year we had numerous teams that were in the top 25, and it goes to a philosophy and style of play. Our teams really like to play up-tempo. They really like to get shots up. You know, the coaches really work to make sure that we are doing the types of things that will lead to winning basketball, and that's a key component of it for sure.
We have an incredible partnership with Ingles as a whole. So the 3-for-3 program is perfect for us because we love to shoot threes, we love to make threes, both on the men's side and the women's. Ingles to me is one of the most meaningful partners when you talk about the upstate in terms of the impact they make on the community, their commitment to giving back, their commitment to education, and their commitment to the holistic family experience. And for us, we couldn't have a better partner in terms of supporting the things that make us successful at Furman, also the things that make us successful in our Greenville community.
Ingles has created the program, and Ingles makes the donation on behalf of the school to the charity. So once the end of the year comes about, they'll know exactly how many three-point shots were done by each of the universities we work with or through the Southern Conference, and then we write a check to each of those charities that they picked. The athletes get to pick what they want to give to.
In terms of the 3-for-3 program, the Southern Conference loves to shoot three-pointers, man, whether it's us or any of our competitors. The Southern Conference is a long-range league, and I think Ingles stepping up and helping us be able to leverage that for a good cause with the 3-for-3 program going towards Fight Hunger, just as another example of their commitment to this community. So it's been a very successful program. We're looking forward to continuing it.
All the way across the board, including our Hoops for Hunger program, we have raised over $50,000 in this one program.
We appreciate Ingles and their willingness to do this. It's an opportunity for people to contribute to the local communities. Obviously, the relationship that we've got between the quality three-point shooting that we have and the opportunity to contribute each time one of those is made is really neat. It's something our fans can pay attention to and get behind, and understand that the basketball game is contributing in ways other than just entertainment and opportunities for our athletes. And we're very happy that Ingles is willing to provide that opportunity for our teams and for the local community.
So Pete, the SoCon has fought and clawed its way to a well-earned position of respect in the mid-majors across the landscape of Division I basketball. So we've seen big things from this little conference. What are your thoughts on what lies ahead as we venture into conference play?
And I thought it was so huge that Furman got an NCAA tourney win a couple of years ago after Wofford had done so. And getting consistent the NCAA tourney, getting a win, advancing in a round is going to be important to this league moving forward. Just like you could at various points last season, I think you can draw a circle around probably 7 teams that think they've got a legit shot at winning this championship. On the women's side, Chattanooga losing their head coach and some of their talent is going to be really, really tough. Wofford will be just fine as long as Rachel Rose is healthy and contributing well. And I think Furman's got enough veteran presence, and ETSU as well, to be factors on that side.
All right, well, thanks so much, Pete. And we'd like to give a big thank you to the Southern Conference, all of our SoCon schools, Ingles Markets, and you for watching.
And I'll see you on Ingles SoCon basketball. For Chris Bainbridge, Pete Hannity, so long, everybody.